Storytime with Me TV, where books come alive. In the green pastures of Willowvale, Joseph the horse galloped across the fields with clumsy hooves and wind-blown hair. He wasn't the fastest or strongest, but he had a dream: to run beyond the ridge and see what lay on the other side. Each morning, Joseph watched the sunrise over the distant hilltop, where the valley ended and the unknown began. He imagined towering forests, sparkling lakes, and trails that whispered adventure. But the older horses warned him, "That ridge is far, Joseph. You're not ready." Still, his heart stirred with hope. He began practicing quietly each day, racing the breeze and leaping over creek beds with growing confidence. One afternoon, while resting beneath a willow tree, Joseph met a crow named Cora. She had flown over the ridge many times and told tales of glistening meadows and singing rivers. Her stories lit a fire in Joseph's heart. Cora winked and said, "Maybe you'll get there someday, little hooves." Joseph smiled, but inside he made a promise to himself. He would cross that ridge before the summer ended. He trained in secret. He ran at dawn, practiced turns through the trees, and leaped higher each time over the hay bales near the fence. His legs grew stronger, and his breath lasted longer. Yet doubt sometimes crept in like morning mist. What if he stumbled? What if the ridge was too steep? But then he'd hear the wind whistling through the valley, and remember Cora's stories. One morning he stood atop a small hill and declared, "Today's the day." Cora flew beside him, flapping her wings. "You've got the heart, Joseph. Now show them your stride." Joseph galloped past the grazing herd, past his stable and the apple grove, his hooves drumming like thunder on the ground. The ridge loomed ahead, taller than he remembered. He slowed at the base, breath heavy, legs trembling. Then he remembered the stories, the songs of rivers, and the light beyond. With a deep breath, he charged up the slope, eyes fixed on the sky. The climb was steep and dusty, pebbles scattered beneath him. His muscles burned. But he didn't stop. One more step, he told himself. One more push. Halfway up, the wind pushed against him. The ridge seemed to say, "Turn back." But Joseph lowered his head, grit in his soul, and kept going, step by step, breath by breath. At the top, he stumbled and fell to his knees. For a moment, everything was still. Then a gentle breeze brushed his mane, and Cora landed beside him. "You made it," she whispered. Joseph stood, legs shaky, and looked beyond the ridge. Before him lay a valley more beautiful than he'd imagined. Wildflowers waving, a river singing below, and mountains in the distance glowing in the sun. He let out a joyful whinny that echoed across the land. "I did it!" he cried. Behind him, the herd watched in silence, then erupted into cheers that echoed through Willowvale. Cora smiled. "Now you know, Joseph, it was never just about running. It was about believing you could." Joseph's eyes shone with pride and new purpose. He galloped down into the new valley, hooves flying over flowers and past curious deer. Everything was new. New sounds, new scents, and new trails waiting to be explored. He found a lake that shimmered like glass and took his first drink from water that tasted like stars. He rolled in soft moss and watched dragonflies dance around him. As the sun began to set, Joseph stood on a small cliff, watching the sky turn orange and gold. For the first time, he truly felt free, not just in his legs, but in his heart. He returned to Willowvale that night, head held high. The herd gathered around him, listening to every word of his adventure. Even the elders nodded in respect. Joseph wasn't the smallest horse anymore, not just because he had grown, but because he had changed. Inside, he had become something more, brave, steady, and full of light. He began leading younger colts in morning runs, sharing what he'd learned. The ridge isn't the end, he told them. It's the beginning. Sometimes, Joseph would return to that far valley, collecting stories and songs to bring back. But his favorite part was watching others find their own strength to try. And every night, as stars blinked awake, Joseph the horse stood on the hilltop beneath the moon, dreaming not just of running, but of leading others to believe they could run too.